Okay, so here we go. I have, okay, here we go. So I have this. All right. I have this open. Anything is free game. You guys can ask anything. Okay.
Marty, tomorrow we have a shorter periods day.
I know.
Okay.
Okay. But you guys, it's only short to 40 minutes.
It's
It's 35 minutes.
35 and a 5-minute passing period.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Let me look at my calendar. Okay, so it looks like period B is right before lunch. Correct? Or right after lunch? Am I right about that?
I'll check. Period B is right after lunch.
Okay. All right. So period, okay, so period B, you probably have to come. Your test is only 40 minutes, so you're probably gonna have to show up 5 minutes before lunch ends, okay? Now, how many of you have period B free? Does anybody? Okay. All right. So who does not have period B free? Okay. Ashton, what class do you have?
AP Calc.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's an easy class though. Leo, what do you have?
Same, AP Calc.
Who's your teacher?
Miss
Sun Lee.
Oh, Miss Lee. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to make her angry. All right. So you guys are gonna have to come. Does she ever go over?
Every day.
So you're gonna have to tell her that you have an exam in your next class. You need to go right away. Okay. So just log off right when class is over. Log off.
All right.
Okay. And if you guys go over for your next class, I'll just write an email. Okay.
All right.
But it shouldn't take you guys longer than 40 minutes.
What's the layout of the test?
The layout of the test is it is 10 multiple choice questions, 1 free response, and 1 what's it called? 1 free I'm sorry, 5 short answer and 1 free response. Okay. Now take a look at this. Let's start off with this question right here. Take a look at it. Okay, refer to the definitions of class 1 and class 2 below. Public class, class 1. Public class 2 extends class 1 with 2 methods. Consider the following declarations in a client class. You can assume that class 1 and class 2 have default constructors. Class 1 C1 equals new class 1. Class 1 C2 equals new class 2. Which of the following method calls will cause an error? C1.method 2, C2.method 2, C2.method 1. Now, technically, this is a polymorphic question, but the answer is still the same. All you have to worry about in this case is the inheritance. Okay. How many of you guys think that it is A, none of these? How many of you think it is B, 1 only? How many of you think it is C, 2 only? How many of you think it is D, 3 only? And how many of you think it is E, 1 and 2 only? Leo, I didn't see your hand.
I think I got D.
D, 3 only?
Yeah.
Okay, the answer is B, 1 only. And the reason why is because inheritance doesn't work up. So if there's if there's public void method 2, okay, all of a sudden class 1 doesn't inherit method 2, okay? Class 1 has no idea what is going on in class 2. All class 2 does is it's basically copied everything from class 1, and now you have added new things to it. If you add new things to it, it doesn't all of a sudden get brought back up to here, okay? Ashton, what are you doing? Are you rapping?
Maybe.
Okay, that's kind of awkward. All right, so, okay, now I've got my Eclipse open. You guys can ask any questions that you want, okay? It's fair game, okay? The review tonight will be at 8 o'clock.
Can we look at that problem one more time?
What's that?
Can we look at that problem one more time? Because you said that you can't work up.
Yeah.
So how are you calling from a superclass object a subclass method?
What?
Can you just
What are you talking about? That's not happening anywhere at all.
class 1, right? That's the object, and you
Yeah.
said the answer was B. It's only
Yes.
so
Is there a C1 is a class 1 object?
yeah.
Okay. Do you see a method 2 in class 1?
No.
So method C2 are class 2 objects. It inherits method 1 and you've created method 2. So you can call on both of them. Your question didn't make any sense. You didn't even use the right terminology. C1 is a class 1 object. C2 is a class 2 object. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's say, for example, Isis's parents. Okay. Isis, what's your background?
Hispanic and Asian.
Okay. Hispanic and Asian. All right. They get together. Good decision. They have Isis. Let's say Isis decides to date and marry Ashton. Okay. Bad decisions don't all of a sudden get inherited to her parents. They just stay with Isis. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay, good. All right. Thank you. All right. Okay. So here we go. All right. Let me share my screen again. Thank you for being good sports, Isis and Ashton. All right.
Can we go over how you would use like system.array copy or those type of things in the superclass?
Say that again.
Using system.array copy, is there any situation where you would use really any of those array methods in the superclass? Because we just haven't really like coded with them at all.
In the superclass, like, what do you mean by that? Like, I wouldn't ever have you do an array. If there's going to be an array copy, it's going to be here in the tester class. Okay. So if I give you 2 arrays, like, and I said, sorry. Okay. All right. Here, what I would do is at this point, yeah, why is this giving me an error? Why is this giving me an error? Okay, let's do that. Oh, come on. That should work fine. Why is this giving me an error? Hold on. It's being a pain in the ass. All right, and okay. All right, so if I gave you these 2 arrays, okay, and then I told you I would give it to you in just a tester class, Okay, you say you have these two arrays. How would you go about swapping? Okay, so so for example, hint, hint, possible test question. Okay, let's say I wanted you to print out or swap the elements from the middle two elements with the middle two elements of the middle two elements from X need to go into the middle two elements of Y. And then I want you to print it out. How would you do that?
Use system.array copy.
So I would do system.array copy. Good. And I would say X. Then what?
Which two you said?
The
4
middle
and 5.
two. I would say the middle two.
So it would be 1,
Okay. X index 1.
and then Y,
Good. 2.
1,
And then
2.
what's the quickest? And then I told you to print them out. What would be the easiest way to do this?
Just
4. Done. Okay. 8, 4, 5, 4. Okay, that would be the answer. Okay, for each loop would be the easiest way because you're just cycling through. I would give this to you in a tester class. You would never see something like this in a super class. Okay.
Are we gonna have, you might not be able to answer this, but are we gonna have to use the array methods for the free response?
No, you will. Those would be either covered in the multiple choice or in the short answer. And again, just so we know, the multiple choice is worth how many points? 1. Okay. The free responses are always, or short answers are always worth 2. My free response is either going to be an AP free response, which is 9, or I'm going to write it, which usually comes to about 12. So the test is going to be between 29 and 32 points.
How heavy focused on inheritance will it be?
So this exam is going to be, now I'm kind of covered, I'm going to go on, I'm going to throw in some string methods, okay, and stuff like that. It's going to be pretty cum, but when it comes to the multiple choice, you can figure anything goes. Anything goes. The short answer and the free response will be very heavy on object, string methods, inheritance, and arrays. But very heavy on string methods and array and inheritance.
Okay.
The multiple choice more so, I may throw more questions than normal about arrays.
Did you make the study guide?
No, I didn't. I didn't get a chance to. Good thing you guys are AP students. You don't need study guides. Okay. Now I am going to be nice to you. For those of you, I'm going to do a double down. Okay. For those of you, let's say, for example, you got 5 or a 6 out of 14 on your last exam. And let's say, for example, let's say you just absolutely crush this exam and you get like an 85. Whatever grade you get, I will overwrite that your last grade with this grade. Okay. So for example, let's say you crush it and you get a 90. I will calculate what the percentage is for the out of 14 and change your 14 score to a 90. Okay. Because this is pretty much a second chance at object inheritance, object creation, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So, but if you go lower, let's say you did better, let's say you got like 10 out of 40 or 14 or 11 out of 14, but then you got like an 85%, you don't go lower. I'm not going to go back and change your lower. This is, so for example, those of you that got 10 out of 14 and then you get like a 95, I will switch your 14 to whatever it is, a 12 or a 12.5. Okay. Only gonna do this once. My double down. Okay?
Was there a curve in the last test?
Hell no. I had 2 kids in the last class that got perfects, Euban and Dylan.
What was the average score?
You guys had a higher average score. Believe it or not, your average score was like 9.89. Theirs was 8.6. In this class, I had most kids hover around a 10, with a couple that were stagnant. In the other class, I had kids that just were 10 or higher or 5 or lower. Like I had no 6, 7, 8s or 9s. It was really weird. Okay, anybody else? Any questions? Again, 8 o'clock, guys, and it's free game, free range, whatever.
Compared to, can we do an example?
What exactly? So for example, I already went over compared to. Another example? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you got to start rewatching the videos, okay? I feel like I'm answering the questions again and again and again. So let's say I had string x equals hello, okay? And I had string y equals hello. Okay, so with compare to is all about the ASCII chart. But what you have to realize is you have to understand people confuse the ASCIIs. You have to understand, let's say like you had them from going, you started at whatever, the first letter on your ceiling and you came down and capitals come before lowercase. So if I said x dot compare to y, okay? So I have x dot compare to y. This is going to give me a 0, okay? The reason why is because they all match, okay? So I have 0, okay? If I do a lowercase h, okay? Again, you don't need to know the number. What you need to, the only time you would need to know the number is if it was like this. Hello space hi. This is going to print out 3. Okay, because everything matched and there's 3 excess characters. When everything matches and you have extra, it prints out how many excess characters there are. Okay, now in this case where it says hello, okay, I have lowercase h here. You don't need to know what the number is. You need to know, is it a positive, is it a negative, or is it 0? What is this going to print out?
Negative.
It's going to print out a negative. And the reason why it prints out a negative is because you're going from, You're going from a capital H down the ladder to a lowercase h, okay? If I switch it up and do this, I'm going from a lowercase h up the ladder. So this would yield a positive 32, okay? And then again, if they match, then they're both 0, then it's just 0. And again, it goes, for example, it will do the first discrepancy. Okay, it will do the first discrepancy. So let's say this is helpo and hello. Okay, you don't need to know. What you need to know is, okay, I'm going from a capital L to a lowercase p. That's a negative number. Okay, that's what you need to know. Okay, it's the first discrepancy. I could literally have this. H-O-J-Y. Okay, hi, Joel. Just going to do the first discrepancy, negative 32. That's it. So compare to looks for that first discrepancy. Yes, Benny.
So if you have a constructor like you do in your superclass with IntGrade and string X,
Okay.
if you created another constructor right below it that was string X IntGrade and did the same thing inside, would that be legal? And the only difference is you would just make an object differently in your tester class?
You can, yeah, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't advise that. It's just not smart. It's like almost
then-
like it's almost like what you're doing is like you're hedging your bets. Just in case they're idiotic and they switched it around, I got you covered. Now it's smart, but it's not. I mean, you'd rather just have people do it the right way. I totally see what you're getting from.
But you can
But
have
remember, when you have
multiple
two,
instructors, right?
well, yeah, you can have multiple constructors, but remember, now this is something that Alex Bai asked as well, okay? When you have this, you will never see in real life. You will never see this in programming. Here I have two overloaded constructors. Here I have int grade, string x, and int grade. If you have two overloaded constructors, you only need one in the extended class. You only need to do one of them. Can you go ahead and do the other one? Yes. Will you ever get an example like this? Never. Is this ever done in real life? No. Is this a theoretical question? Okay. If you had an overloaded constructor, do you have to do both of them? You can get away with just doing one. As you can see, it's completely legal. Okay. Can you do both like I did here? Yeah, also completely legal. You're never going to get a question like that. Okay. So that's why these are there. Why I had two constructors here, because he just wanted to know, well, what happens at that point? What happens if we have a constructor that only takes one parameter and one that takes two? In the extended class, you only need to cover your bets for one. You can do both, but that's it. Okay. So I'll get rid of that so nobody's confused. Okay. Now, the other thing they asked in the other class was Thanos asked about an overloaded method. Okay. So take a look at can drive. Okay. So I have set drive is equal to true. What if I wanted can drive to be based on user input? Okay. Now take a look. This is void and this is int. Okay. Thumbs up, overloaded. Thumbs down, not overloaded. Okay. This is still an overloaded method. Same name, right? Different parameters, right? Do the return types matter? No. Okay. So I tried to fool you guys because this has an int. Doesn't matter. Look, I returned 0. This basically does set drive based on the user's value and then super.can drive. They're both overloaded methods. Okay. This would have been too easy of a question. How many would have gotten this question right if I left it like this? How many felt, oh yeah, duh, that works. But this does the same thing. The only difference is I throw some data back, but for the most part, it does the same thing. Right? Don't worry about the return types. Think about that. Half of the class would have gotten it wrong. Wake up, Ashton. Okay. All right. Yes, Benny.
So you don't inherit private variables, right?
You don't inherit, you inherit them, you just don't inherit access to them. So for example, like you see here, I can say drive equals X because I can just call on drive, right? I can't say drive. I can't say drive equals Y. Okay. I can't even say this dot drive. Okay. Oops. Okay, oops. Yeah, I can't even say this.
So it's
Okay.
the main purpose of getters in inheritance.
Exactly. So this is why getters and setters should start making sense to you. Look, when we're in a tester class for a regular class, you don't have access to private variables. I'll do it for you. You want to change it? I'll change it for you. Same thing with the extends. You lose access to it. I'll get it for you. Okay? That's basically what you're doing. Anybody else?
If you have the values of an array or a variable being altered in a method that's void, and then that same variable or array is used in a different method, the value hasn't changed, right? Because in void, okay.
Correct. Unless the only way it would have changed is if, for example, I'm going to get an error for right now. Okay. But let's say eight. Okay. And then let's say I assigned values. Okay. The only way, let's say I had an array, let's say there were 2 arrays. Okay. And I had to swap them. Let's say it was in older. Okay. So in this instance, okay, because this tells me when I'm using this method like this, one, it tells me that I'm going to get, it's returning an array. It's returning subtype of values. Okay. It's taking 2 arrays that I had here. Okay. Because I'm actually using this method and taking this data and assigning it to Y, then Y will be physically changed. Same thing in a subclass. If you see the Y, or if you see the array itself using method, okay, using method data or something like that, okay, that's the only time it's actually going to change. If I just did something like this, okay, and then more than likely, 1, this would be a void method. 2, nothing's being spit back. I would actually have to be taking this and assigning it to an array. Okay, that's the only way. Otherwise, you're not doing anything with the data. Does that make sense, Kennedy?
Yeah.
Anyone? Okay, guys. Well, 8 o'clock. Yes, Armand.
I was gonna say, you opened almost all of the College Board questions, but is it possible for you to open Unit 9? Because we also need that.
I clicked on open everything. So I'll try doing it again. I just put filter open everything. So
It shows the same for me. It shows.
I'll double check, because I specifically, if you guys notice, I opened them up.
Yeah.
But I thought I selected select all and chose open. So
Okay.
I'll go back in and take a look. Okay.
And could you also open the adhesive?
Yes. Okay. Oh, the other thing I want to share with you guys also is this. Okay. Let me show you guys this. I wanted to show you guys this website also. Okay. All right. How many of you guys have ever heard of, where is it? FiveMe or Fiveable. Have you guys heard of Fiveable? Okay. So Fiveable, decent resource. Okay. Let me share my screen. Okay. Fiveable is basically this right. I'm going to put it in the chat. Okay. What this is it's basically just a walkthrough, a review of everything that is going to be done in the AP. Okay. It's got resources. Okay. We don't have to do recursion. Recursion is pretty easy though. But for example, it goes over arrays. Okay. It goes over writing classes. As you can see, it goes over inheritance. Okay. The key thing with inheritance, this is great. The only thing you don't need to do is you don't need to do polymorphism. But again, as you can see, they're 1 to 2 minute reads. They're very good. They're very thorough. They have examples. Okay. So it's a pretty good resource for you guys to use. Okay. Oops. Sorry, that's my YouTube for my other classes. Okay. So that being said, if you guys don't have anything, then we're good to go. Okay. The review is 8 o'clock tonight. Don't stress. I will tell you this, the test is going to be probably easier than my other exams. Okay. If you know your stuff, that is. So 8 o'clock, guys. Again, the one thing I ask is come ready with 1 question, at least. Don't just come, just sit there and stare at the screen. Okay. If there's questions that are being asked or whatever, then that's great. But bring something to the table. Understood? All right. Okay, guys. I will chat with you later.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck, guys. Good luck.
Mr. Marty,
Yes.
I have a test right
Hold on a
after
second.